My name is Chris McPeak, and I work as the Director of Programs and Alumni Engagement for the Pasadena City College Foundation. And you are all here because you have an interest in applying for scholarships here. And so that is exactly what we are going to talk about this afternoon. So what we're going to cover in the next hour is exactly who and what the foundation is, so you get a sense of what we contribute to the college. We'll talk about the general scholarship application and this fall cycle timeline. I will give you a heads up on how financial aid plays a role here. Then we'll talk about the way that you will share your story to the reviewers using our short answers. And then we'll cover a few tips and tricks and resources and strategies. And then if we can get all that done before the hour is up, I can take your questions. So the foundation is the chief fundraising organization for Pasadena City College. And this is not a unique thing to PCC. Lots of other colleges and universities have foundations or advancement departments with the goals set out there of fundraising in order to support the goals of the school. And we were brought together in 1979 to help bridge that gap between needs and resources of PCC. I know maybe some of you are returning students, but probably most of you are first generation newer students that I'm sure Laura can appreciate when I say that college tuition used to be much less expensive than it is now. And even on the community college side of things, yeah, $46 a credit unit is not a bad deal, but generally speaking, it's expensive to go to school these days. And trust me when I say that our organization is very aware that most students do not have the financial resources that they need to cover their full education. And that is exactly why the organization I work for exists. When I started in 2013, we were just about 3.5 full-time professional people. And as the foundation has grown, our staff has grown, and we are now an incredibly dynamic team of, I'm not even going to count all those names there. There's like 12 of us these days. We have 4 managers, including our executive director, Bobby Abram, who has been here for almost 12 years. And we have a director of development who's our chief fundraiser and a foundation business services person. And the best way to describe what I do is that while Bobby and Lillian are out there raising money, I am here on campus spending that money on your behalf and on the foundation's behalf. So that's our crew, that's our team, and we do a lot together. The foundation we have a lot of things that we take care of. So first we raise money for the college. So we have an annual fund where our board members will donate unrestricted money. Anybody can donate unrestricted money. That's not a huge deal. But the way that our funds are split up is the annual fund is what puts together our unrestricted budget. And that is generally how we do our business. So unrestricted funds are what we use to pay the college back for our salaries, how we buy our supplies, occasionally how we travel to conferences and pay for meetings, things like that. Endowments are larger gifts that are what we call restricted. So a person would put down $10,000, $25,000, $100,000, and we're going to invest those funds. That capital money, that principal is never touched, but we invest it for a year and then we spend the dividends from it. So most of the scholarships that you may apply for over the course of a year is from an endowment that's been sitting at the foundation anywhere from 1 year to 80 years. And we have scholarships that go back to the 30s and 40s. The college is about to celebrate its centennial, so we do have money here that's been around for a very long time. And then the other way we raise money is through planned giving. So along the way, there may be a couple or individuals who are preparing their estate planning or putting together their will. And some folks that have a lot to give decide, we're going to leave money to PCC. And whether that's in the form of unrestricted funding or whether that's restricted funding, we do get planned gifts a few times a year, sometimes even more than that. Some of our largest funds come from planned gifts that we didn't even know about until after the family members passed on. So that does happen, and it's a lovely surprise when it does happen. But collectively, when you take into consideration all of our endowments, our annual fund, our restricted money and unrestricted money, we have an overall endowment of about $71 million. And that has more than tripled in the time that I've been here. So we've had a good run. We continue to have a good run, and lots of people in the Pasadena community and alums support this organization. And in doing that, they're supporting all of you who are here at school working on your education. So now that we have raised all that money, we manage it. And so most of that $71 million is put in the hands of a finance and investment firm, a group that will take our money and invest it in the way that we can get high returns. And then we create what's called a trailing 12 quarters report, create a spending availability from the dividends, and that is what's used to award scholarships to students every year. So that $71 million as it's invested can yield, and I had a spreadsheet here on my desk, but the amount of scholarship money we'll give away this fall is in excess of $300,000. And then in the spring, we'll give away close to $500,000 and sometimes more than that. This group that we work with, they take good care of our money, and which is not to say that when, the market is dipping around, that doesn't impact us. But overall, these firms do get money back for us and make money for us. So it's a positive thing to have that. And then we take the funds that we have and those spending balances and we distribute. So we have done major gift campaigns that have paid for things in athletics, in the arts, career and technical education. We're currently raising money to buy furniture and fixtures for the Serafian building that's under construction. 2 years ago, we got a $30 million gift from Mackenzie Scott, and that particular gift has been invested and we use in a program that we call Community Excellence Grants. And those programs have been created by faculty and staff to help sort of raise the bar on the type of programming that we are creating here at PCC so that you all as students can have more robust and rigorous learning opportunities. And then, of course, the majority of our endowments are those scholarships. And we are going to talk more about the scholarship piece here in a bit. So the first thing I want to make you aware of is the system known as Blackbaud Award Management. You can call it BAM if you want to. I have a hard time saying that myself because for me, it's still Academic Works. And they were a startup that we contracted with in 2013. And that they were just starting with their software management program. And on down the line, they were acquired by a company called Blackbaud. Blackbaud is the manager of a number of nonprofit software packages. And we used 2 of them already. So it was a natural kind of progression for Academic Works and Blackbaud to get together. And it worked well for us because we had the other Blackbaud software. So Razor's Edge, Financial Edge, Net Community, we use all of those pieces. So now that Academic Works is part of it, it's a very seamless process for us. Razor's Edge is the donor data, Financial Edge is the financial data, and then Blackbaud Award Management is the software that houses the scholarship application program. So as long as you're at PCC, every bit of money that we have at the foundation is represented in Blackbaud Award Management. The scholarship application itself, you can apply for scholarships year-round because we don't ever really close the general application itself. However, we do have 2 set cycles within the framework of each fiscal year. And you may be wondering, well, what's a cycle. And that leads me to this page where we're going to talk a little bit about some terms that I use interchangeably as we talk about the world of scholarships here at PCC. So a cycle is when a group of scholarships are open for application and review. So that cycle covers a set period of time. We are currently in the fall cycle, which traditionally has opened in mid to late July and will close in mid-October. And then the spring cycle has varied over the past 10 years as we've moved in and out of having winter intersession. But that's basically what a cycle looks like. Then we have the concept of opportunities versus portfolios. So when I talk about a portfolio in Blackbaud Academic Works or Blackbaud Award Management, I'm speaking specifically of the scholarship fund itself. So for example, we have the Robert and Adrian Westerbeck portfolio/fund. So that is the overall name of the scholarship opportunity, the scholarship portfolio. And then when I refer to opportunities, I'm talking about a specific portfolio application. So fall 2023 is when the Robert and Adrian Westerbeck scholarship opportunity is open. And spring 2024 would be when the President's Latino Advisory Council opportunity is open. So the portfolio is the fund itself, and the opportunity is when the portfolio application is open. Then we have two types of scholarships that you will be focusing on. The first is what we refer to as auto match. So with this type of application, just by completing the general application, which I'll show you guys here in a few minutes, you will be matched to literally anything that you qualify for. And qualifications are based on things like GPA, number of credit units, if you're on the California Promise Grant, if you are in a particular field, particular major. In the spring semester, there are some scholarships that are earmarked for students in EOP&S. So acknowledging that you belong to EOP&S would be good for you for an auto match opportunity there. So just in filling out the general application, you could put yourself in a position this fall where you'd be eligible for anywhere from 5 to 20 opportunities, depending again on your situation. Then the apply to opportunities require additional stuff after you complete the general application. So you do have to first finish the general application, and then you can individually apply to each other opportunity that you see that you qualify for that sounds like something you want to pursue. And I'll kind of show you what the difference is between those two in the application here in a second. Then we have this thing called post-acceptance. So when I refer to that process, that is where you'll be writing a thank you letter, uploading a photo of yourself, writing a short testimonial, and you also have the opportunity to give us a little biography about yourself so that we can give that to the office or division that is presenting the award. And you can give us feedback about the process as well. So I referenced the fall cycle and the spring cycle, the two main cycles that we host during the year. The fall cycle that we're in now is completely centralized. And what I mean by that is that every process is overseen by the foundation, from the marketing to the targeting of reviewers, setting up the dates of the cycle, formulating the review period, putting all of the scores together. And then we have a committee within the foundation that meets, and we take, I think there's maybe 56 or so opportunities that are open this fall. So we will take a look at all of the scores for all of those scholarships and make our selections there. So that's what I mean when I say that we are centralized cycle. Almost everything in the fall cycle is an auto match opportunity. So if you're just filling out the general application and you want to stop there, you'll be fine in terms of options and things that you may match to. Very few of those opportunities require letters of recommendation because very few of them are applied to, and none of them require any transcripts. these scholarships will pay, they'll disperse to you in early January. And we have one big, beautiful party on the very last day of the semester, which this year is Friday, December 8th. We gather in Sexton Auditorium. We have a lovely and high energy ceremony, and then we have a reception out at the Mirror Pools. And that is like the highlight of my year because we make it super fun and super high energy. Now, the spring cycle is what I refer to as a decentralized cycle because this is where most departments and divisions that have money associated with them will do their award process. So natural sciences has a pool of money. Social sciences has a pool of money. English, languages. I referenced the President's Latino Advisory Council, the PAPI, what are they? President's Pacific Islander Asian Advisory Group. They have money. So just across the whole campus, there's scholarships that are connected to particular academic majors, and they have traditionally liked to host their own events. And so they oversee their selection processes, and I work with them on an advisory capacity. We still set the start dates and the close dates, but they do all of the rest. They recruit their own reviewers. They make the selection themselves. And almost everything in the spring cycle is an apply to opportunity because the departments and divisions in particular require transcripts and letters of recommendation. And that is the basis on which most of the scholarships are selected because they are tied to majors. So for example, there's a physics 1A and 1B scholarship, and that goes to students who have performed well in those physics classes. So you need to provide a transcript so that the physics staff can take a look and see where, the applicants lie in terms of their overall GPA in physics courses. And that's why almost everything in the spring is applied to. So for right now, you can kind of chill and just do the general application and see what happens. But in the spring, you'll need to pay really close attention to what's out there and apply to the things that you qualify for that make the most sense for you. Most scholarships in the spring will pay out or disperse to you in mid-June unless there is a re-enrollment required or proof of matriculation. So for those, you have to provide a class schedule before we process the scholarship payment. And like I said before, all divisions will have their own celebrations. So the website where you apply for Blackbaud Award Management is not necessarily part of our website. You can get to it from the foundation website, but the easiest thing would be to just bookmark this address. And that address is pasadena.academicworks.com. And you'll log in with your Lancer Point credentials. So it's a single sign-on type of scenario. And the first thing that I really want to impress upon you as you go into this process is that this is something you want to put time into. You've heard the phrase that, it's you get out of it what you put into it. And that is so very, very true with this scholarship process. It's obvious to the reviewers my husband likes to say when I'm like making light of something and breezing through it, he says I fast food it. So if you fast food this scholarship application, you likely will not do as well as a student who has put time, energy, and effort into preparing to do this. So before we get into the application itself, I want to just kind of overview the timeline here. So again, we open around mid-June. This year we opened on July 10th. You are participating in a virtual scholarship workshop, and we offer these throughout the month of September. I don't usually offer them in October for the express reason that the scholarship closes the second Friday of October. And so pet peeve number one of Chris McPeak is that students who wait until the very, very last minute to apply are likely cutting themselves off at the legs because that due date is going to sneak up on you. And if you have a letter of reference required, it's going to be really hard for that faculty member to get that in, and you're just really not going to put the effort in that you need. So getting started as soon as possible at this juncture in the cycle is to your advantage. Those applications are due on Friday, October 13th, and there's actually a time with this too. So you can sit there and play around with your application until 11:59 p.m. on that Friday night. This does include any reference letters that you are requesting from reference providers. On the following Monday starts the review period, and we basically review for 2 weeks and 1 weekend. So Monday, October 16th is the start of the review period, and then we finish that up on Friday the 27th. And on Monday, October 30th, is when I pull my committee together and we go through all of those opportunities, all of the spreadsheets, and make decisions on who is going to be offered scholarships for this fall. From there, I began a process of creating 2 sets of emails. One is the congratulations, you're a scholarship recipient. Here's a big old list of things that we want you to pay attention to leading up to the ceremony on December 8th. And then the second email is the one that says, thank you so much for applying. It was a competitive process. There's never enough money to take care of every scholarship applicant, and you're not getting a scholarship this fall. So I have the absolute luxury and task of getting all of that notification done before Friday, November 3rd. So then you all have between November 6th and December 8th to do a number of preparatory tasks, photos and videos that we use for the night of the ceremony. And we also give you a big old list of to-dos that includes following Foundation on social media and getting signed up for the PCC Alumni Network. But I keep in touch with you all through that time to give you a heads up on things that are happening at the ceremony, things you might want to know for the reception, deadlines for things like submitting your photos and your videos, and all of those types of things. And then we need you to RSVP for the ceremony and reception. It's a required event because donors will be present, and it is the last day of classes. So I'm assuming most students will not have a Friday night class. If you do have one of those, once you get your scholarship email that lets you know if you're an awardee or not, we can provide a letter for a professor or whatever you need, because we really, really do want you there. And I know that people have life events. There might be a wedding, or at the last minute you have to go to a funeral, and we understand that. But it's so important for our process that students get to connect with the donor who made this scholarship possible. And in some cases, that small connection at the ceremony and the party has led to people getting internships and future employment and future letters of recommendation. So it's a really important event for you to attend. Plus, it is super fun. We have a theme every single year that rolls through the scholarship event. We have DJs both at the ceremony and the reception. We have photo booths. It's high energy. It is highly student focused, and you will not have more fun this fall semester than you will at this event. And I'm just saying that because it's true. Your funds will disperse on or around January 19th. I will talk a little bit about that when we speak about financial aid, because there is a very set way that Fiscal Services has put together the disbursement calendar for the year. It's a few more steps than I would like for it to be, but that is the process that we have. So we work within that. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about the application itself and what you need to prepare to do. So because we have that single sign-on, that Lancer Point connection, all of the majority of things where qualifications are concerned, your GPA, the credits you've earned, your current enrollment, your major, your EFC, your BOG, California Promise Grant, all of this stuff is going to be imported by Lancer Point. And thank goodness, because there was a time when it wasn't. And during that time, Chris McPeak had to go and verify all of those qualifiers within Banner. And that was not fun, but nonetheless, you got to do it. So all of that stuff's imported. You will not have to answer any questions related to these things. Now, when we talk about the column on the left, self-report, these are the questions that you will answer in the system. Even though you're logging in with your Lancer Point credentials, we're still, of course, going to ask you for your name and your student number. We want your mobile phone number because we have a texting option that I honestly thought more students would want to take advantage of, and that has kind of surprised me that people don't. However, we are asking anyway because you never can tell. We ask for your personal email. And if you recall from when I introduced myself, I said that I am the Director of Programs and Alumni Engagement. I want your personal email because I want to be able to keep up with you when you are an alum of PCC, because naturally there will come a time when all of you are super successful and super wealthy, and you decide you want to create one of those endowments that I talked about earlier today. That is why we ask you for your personal email, because there is something in it for us too. We also ask about things like athletics, support services, and those of you in EOP&S, we want you to check that box so that we know that you are a member of EOP&S. As I said, there are some scholarships in the spring that are specially marked for EOPS students. And then transfer, and we've started asking 2 sets of short answer questions. So this first set, this is what we refer to as the impact question. So I'm going to read these and then kind of talk through what I mean by them. So in short answer questions, group 1, your first option is to share a particular interest, talent, volunteer experience, and/or other contribution of yours that allows you to make a difference in the community and/or the lives of others, including your family, friends, etc. I know it's pretty long, but what we're getting at here is we want you to share something that you have done previous to your experience at PCC that has allowed you to contribute to something else outside of yourself, whether that be your family, your friends, your community, your high school, a student organization, a charitable organization, whatever. But this is something that you have come into PCC already having experienced doing, okay? Now, option number 2, how do you hope your education at PCC will help you make a difference in your community or chosen career? So in this aspect, you are going to write about what you're looking to gain at PCC that will help you make an impact on others in your community or in your desired vocation. So this may turn into, I came here to study film, and what I want to do with that degree is blank, blank, blank. So that's the impact set of questions. The first one, you focus and reflect on your past, and the second one, you're looking towards the future. Group 2 is what we refer to as sort of a self-awareness, personal development type of question. And your first option here is if you had the chance to have a 30-minute conversation with any person in human history, either living or deceased, who would be the person you choose, why, and what topics would you discuss? So here's the question where we kind of get a sense of the things that are important to you. And you'll choose that real person, either living or deceased, and you can go anywhere from historical characters to your great-grandmother to your baby sister, whoever that person is. You want to write about that person, why you chose them, and what topics you want to talk about. And the answers from this question have really been fascinating over the last 3 years. And I do thoroughly enjoy when students respond to this question, because I've learned about a bunch of people that I've never heard of before, from musicians to, what's the word I'm looking for? Activists, all types of things. The second option you have is to share a challenge or obstacle that you have both faced and overcome, and then write what you learned about yourself from the experience. So in this option, you're going to reflect on an experience in your life that gave you some difficulty, and how you move through the process to overcome that difficulty. So maybe in high school, you broke your leg and couldn't play football for 2 years. How did you face that challenge and what did you learn about yourself? Or maybe you always had a stutter when you were a little kid and it was a really frustrating thing. And how did you face that challenge and overcome it? And what did you learn about yourself? So it can be anything from a small, tiny obstacle that seems, I don't know, unimportant, but that impacted you. Or, some people have chosen to write about really high level things like the death of a parent or some kind of tragedy that happened at their school. We get a little bit of everything. You do not have to have a high level challenge to respond to this question. If you have viewed it, some experience in your life, as an obstacle that you had to come to terms with, then you can write about it. Okay, now we are going to move into kind of what the application looks like, some screenshots, and some things to look for. So when you get to that main page, pasadena.academicworks.edu.com, you are going to click on the left side tab that says Applicants and Administrators and click on Sign in with your institution. What's going to happen from there is it's going to take you to that single sign-on page where you authenticate, and you'll recognize it as the Lancer Point authentication. And that will take you here. If you've never logged into the system before, there's going to be like a blue or a green banner tab up here that says, it looks like it's your first time logging in, so please answer all the questions in the general application before moving forward. So you can kind of see these little gray asterisks. Those are, of course, the required questions. First name, last name, middle name, student ID number, your personal email. And then down here at the bottom, you have 2 buttons that you can push. So save and keep editing will for sure save your work. However, you want to make sure that when you are done, like you have decided I'm all finished with everything I need to do in the general application, you have got to hit this red button that says finish and submit. If you fail to do that, your application stays in drafted status, and not only will you not match to anything, but you will not be in a position where you can pursue any of the apply to opportunities. So it's really important that as you decide for yourself, I'm done, that you hit the red button. Pretty much everything with a red button or a red label on it in this system means you need to take action. Okay. Then after you have hit finish and submit for the general application, you'll get this green banner here that says your general application has been fully submitted. And you'll see this section says other recommended opportunities, and those will show up here on the right side. So those are, generally speaking, apply to scholarship opportunities that you already qualify for. So you can go and click on any one of these red boxes and get to work on some apply to opportunities. The other thing, actually, let me go back one slide first. If you hover over this opportunities tab right here, you'll see there's a drop down arrow. The 3 options that you're going to see the word hours, O-U-R-S. When you click on that, you are going to get this page. This is going to list every single currently open scholarship opportunity that we have going on. And you'll notice there's 3 arrows that are indicating a certain type of status here. So for the Karen E. Van Brunt scholarship opportunity, that is highlighted in a red box for my pseudo fake application, because according to the qualifications, I qualify for this scholarship. So I can click on that red button and go to the next page and work on the additional information that I need for that opportunity. Over here, you will see for the Lonnie and Lorraine Shield Scholarship Fund, this says none. And what that means is that I can't apply for this because it's an auto match. So no matter how badly I want to, I haven't matched to it, so I can't apply to it on my own. Down here, you'll see the third status that pops up, and that says not currently qualified. So for those scholarships, it is an apply to opportunity, but you have not met all the criteria. So the system is telling you, sorry, buddy, but you can't apply for this scholarship. If you run into a situation where you are confused because you feel like you completely meet all the qualifications of something, you'll want to send me an email, because 9 times out of 10, what it means is that your major has been incorrectly listed in Academic Works, or maybe you have changed your major and have not made that change with admissions and records. This is a page in an apply to scholarship opportunity. So the Mary S. Uchiyama Scholarship was created in, I want to say 2019, by the family of Mary Uchiyama. And this is for a student who comes from immigrant family and who wants to, in their career, they want to empower women. So if you're going to pursue the Mary Uchiyama Scholarship, you're going to need to write up to 500 words on the work you have done to empower women. And then the second question is asking if you are first or second generation immigrant student. So in this situation, you'll respond to these 2 questions. And then again, you want to hit the red button, meaning finish and submit. So that's just an idea of what you'll see with an apply to opportunity. Okay, so here is the general scholarship rubric, and this is particularly impactful for the fall cycle because for the majority of scholarships that are in our system, this is what we're using to score your application. There's 2 categories, the community impact short answer question, and then the personal development short answer question, and then we score you on your GPA. So for the short answer questions, you can get up to 10 points, and we kind of split that out in terms of the way your short answer response is written and the number of examples that you cite. So a student's going to earn a 9 or a 10 if they're able to provide strong examples of ways they've impacted their community. And the examples are specific and clear. They have details and outcomes. And you can read on down from there. A student will get a 3 to 5 if they provide a single example that may not be as specific or clear, but are still mentioned. And a student may receive even less points if they failed to provide a clear example or did not specifically answer the question, and that does happen. So if you are looking at a short answer question and you're really stuck on how you want to respond to it, better to send me an email than to answer the question incorrectly. Some points are better than no points, and that is the God's honest truth. Then the personal development short answer question. Here, we're looking for you to share highly original thoughts and examples pertaining to self-awareness, personal development, and your values. And again, we want those examples to be specific and clear. And again, those points will go down if you fail to share those specific examples, or you are not sharing original thinking in regards to the self-awareness, personal development type things. So up to 10 points for the community impact question, up to 10 points for the personal development question, and then we will rank you on your GPA. Now, what you need to know about the grade point average is that it is also worth 10 points, but the weight is just slightly less than the short answer questions because we put more emphasis on how you all respond to those questions than we do on your grade point average. Now, don't get me wrong, because grade point average is still the most objective way to determine student success, but it's not the only way. And frankly, we are more interested in the student who has the 3.0 and a really good, compelling story than the student with the 4.0 who really is unsure of himself or herself, or has not sort of made a contribution or put themselves out there, right? So that's something to think about. If you are a student and you're out of 2.5 and you're thinking, well, I'm not going to apply for scholarships because there's no way I'll get anything, you would be surprised of the number of students that have between a 2.5 and a 3.0 who do very well in our scholarship application because they have found a way to navigate through and provide really outstanding responses to these questions. All right. So with notification and disbursement, all of you who apply for scholarships this fall, you will be notified no later than November 3rd. And again, you will continue to receive emails from me about the December 8th event, which is required. It is also super fun. Then that post-acceptance process that I referred to at the beginning, you need to complete that by December 22nd. Now, the Office of Financial Aid has very set dates that they process financial aid, scholarships, grants, and things like that. And unfortunately for us, the last disbursement of 2023 is happening on the day before the scholarship event. So even if I were to get everybody's thank you notes by the Monday after the ceremony, there would still not be a way to get you all your money before you go to winter break. The very first scholarship disbursement in 2024 would have your funds landing in your Bank Mobile account around January 19th. What's important to note here is that if you owe a balance to the college, the scholarship will offset that balance. That is a favor to you. I know it'd be easy to think like, well, they're going to take my money away from me and that's not fair. But if you have a balance to the college, you may not be able to register for classes following semester. And if you're transferring, you might not be able to get your transcripts to move with you. So this is a good thing that the scholarship will offset your balance. And in the example I made here, if you get $1,000, but you owe 200, your balance is now paid. Excellent. You're free and clear. And then you get a reimbursement of the 800 that's left. So that will happen in all cases with scholarships. Bank Mobile is the company that we have partnered with to deliver refunds to you, whether that's your Pell Grant or other grants that you get, or your scholarships, third-party scholarships, any scholarships. You should have received either an email or a little envelope at your house that had a code in it. And if you've not done that yet, that's important to do if you're getting a scholarship, and do that ahead of time. You can go to refund selection to get all signed up and taken care of there. If you never got a code, then you can contact Student Business Services and they will set you up. I have just recently learned that Bank Mobile is not giving you the option to get a paper check anymore. And to that, I actually say hallelujah, because checks sometimes go stale. And it kind of blows my mind that some folks forget to deposit their checks, but it does happen. With the direct deposit, you're going to have access to your money much faster. There's less of a chance that money's going to get lost in the mail. And if you don't already have your own personal bank account, you can sign up for one with Bank Mobile. The refund process is most disbursements happen on a Thursday. The fiscal refund happens on the following Tuesday, and the money is wired to Bank Mobile on that Friday. So when I mentioned earlier, it's a few steps before you have cash in hand, but that is a system that has been set up for us. So that's what we work with. Now, really quickly on the financial aid. For those of you who have federal aid, meaning you get a Pell Grant, you get a supplemental educational opportunity grant, you have work study, anything coming from the federal government, we are not allowed to over award you. And that is directly connected to these things called estimated family contribution and educational budget. So when you apply at PCC, financial aid creates this budget for you, and it's contingent upon if you're living at home with parents, if you're living away from home, what major you're studying, are you an international student, and those types of things. Then when you fill out your FAFSA, which by the way is not the financial aid itself, it is just the application for financial aid. When you fill out your FAFSA, they come up with this number that is referred to as the estimated family contribution. In some cases, it may seem like a weird number. It's based on your parents' previous year tax returns, and that dollar amount subtracted from the educational budget is what we call your unmet need. So if you're getting federal aid, you really have to pay attention to that unmet need number, because with scholarships or any other aid that you get, once you hit that unmet need number, you can't get any more aid from the college, even if in your mind, you know, you really need it. But the system that has been built around this educational budget and EFC and unmet need, we can't award that. So if you're getting a Pell Grant or work study or any federal money, you'll want to be kind of up to date on what's going on with your unmet need. In some cases, there's a few scholarships this fall that require letters of recommendation. And so this is my second soapbox conversation that I want to share. So with letters of reference, you should never, ever, ever, ever assume that the reference provider you want to approach is going to say yes to you. They're doing you a favor. So you want to ask permission to use their name to provide that letter of recommendation. You'll have the option to enter a name and email address in the section where the reference stuff goes, but you don't want to do that automatically. You want to contact the professor or advisor first. The worst thing in the world is when a faculty member emails me on the Wednesday before the applications close and they tell me, I have not had this student in class for 3 years. I hardly remember them, and they never talked to me about this reference, so I don't know what to do. And that does happen. So I'm here to tell you guys, if you learn nothing else from today's presentation, know this, that you will be asking for letters of recommendation and references for the rest of your adult working life, okay? If you pursue grad school, other scholarships, jobs, all of the things, having references is going to be really important. So get into that system, that habit of the right etiquette around reference letters, and start doing it right. Start doing it correctly now. You want to learn the process and explain the process to them. They're not going to hand you a physical letter. We'll talk about that on the next slide. And even though it's your responsibility, it's their responsibility to get the letter completed. If they say yes to you, it's your responsibility to follow up. And what I mean by follow up is follow up, don't nag. So this is not where you email every day to say, have you finished my letter yet? Have you finished my letter yet? And for that matter, don't email me and do the same. Keep your hand in, keep tabs on it, but don't bother, because again, they're doing a favor for you. The reference letter process is going to be written by the reference and uploaded by the reference in the system. When they'll get an email, an auto-generated email that tells them what they need to do. And the directions on how to upload everything is in the system. You yourself will not get a paper letter or an emailed letter, and you can't upload it anyway. So if your reference provider is saying, I can't get this letter in, it thinks I'm a student, then just send them my way. I can upload those letters for them, but I'd rather not have to do that. It's an easy way to log in. They just have to do it correctly. And I'm very aware that we only have 5 minutes left. Regarding short answer questions, what's really important as you're getting started is that you get a handle of the idea of what you want to write about and start journaling those thoughts. So with the question about how you've previously changed or want to change the world, write down all of the things that you've done in years before, organizations, employment, special talents that you think you have. Like, I'm really good at candle making, and that's been something that's been fun for me to do as a hobby, etc. Things like that. So write all that stuff down and then get to work on putting together your actual written response. You have 250 words for each response, but as you're writing your first draft, I don't want you to worry about word count yet. I want you to get your thoughts on paper and start formulating what that response looks like. It's imperative that you answer honestly and write as yourself, and do not be afraid to tell your truth and tell your story. It really helps to use details in bringing your story to life, and especially being able to enhance the concept of what your personal growth was. From this experience, I learned blank. That's the most important piece of these responses. And you don't need to repeat the question in your response, because we're going to know already in the way that you're addressing that. So repeating the question is just wasting words, okay? When you're thinking of those talents, those ways you've changed the world, don't write about everything. Pick one or two things that are slightly related or complement each other if you're going to go down that route. And if you are absolutely positively stumped and you have no idea what you want to write about, then talk to your friends or your family members and just ask them, what am I good at? And wait and see what they have to say. And that is going to be super helpful for you. The biggest hint I want to get you on the personal awareness question is, if you're going to write about the 30-minute conversation, you do need to write about a real person who has walked on this planet. Okay, then this here is my very favorite strategy for checking work and getting feedback. You should write your statements or your responses in a Word doc and then print that. Then find somewhere in your house or a place that's got a mirror and stand in front of that mirror and read your responses out loud to yourself. Hearing you say the statement responses to yourself is going to bring up stuff that you're not really going to catch when you're looking at a computer screen. And then once you've done that and you've made your edits, then share it with a friend, a family member, an advisor, and share it multiple times, and then edit, read again, and submit. And that will put you in a really good place. I'm going to share one last thing with you, and then we'll take some time for questions. And I will make this slideshow available to Laura and anyone else who's on the call. If you want these links, these are clickable links, plus, you'll have access to the rest of the information. So Blackbaud Award Management is your main resource here at PCC for our scholarships, but there are tons of state and local and national opportunities out there that you can find on some of these other sites. These are all reputable sites that have legit opportunities on them. So particularly if you're going to be transferring soon, not a lot of four-year schools have specific scholarships for transfer students. A lot of those places, particularly private schools, want to focus on the first-year student. These will be really helpful resources. Google is also can be your friend, but you really need to niche down. So when I searched for scholarships for film students in California, that got me almost 9.5 million hits. And that's just like a lot of information. But scholarships for bluegrass musicians in LA got me 580,000 results. That's less than 9.5 million, but that's still a lot. So Google can be fun, but you got to niche down. And then if you land on some kind of site that wants you to pay $49.95 advance fee for some special scholarship report, then just stay far, far away from that site, because you should not have to pay money for reputable scholarship information.
I think we'll wrap it up with that, Chris. We want to thank you for sharing all this valuable information.
Of course. I'm so happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
If you want me to read your short answer responses, I'm happy to do that too.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.